everybody, Sol here. I have only one rule here. If it's animated, I'll comment on it. And I got some bad news. It seems that my YouTube channel, the one I've spent years cultivating and nurturing and caring for to the point where I have 25,000 wonderful subscribers, is dying. Yeah, you could blame my infrequent upload schedule, or the fact that I have a grating voice and abrasive personality, but I prefer to do what all YouTubers do when they have anything bad happen to them. Blame the algorithm! That's right, so I'm gonna prostrate myself to the YouTube gods. It's time to make this channel 10,000% more YouTube friendly. So, I'm gonna be doing a serious channel reevaluation, and maybe sneak in a review of Final Space while we're at it. Kill two birds with one stone, eh? Oh shit, am I even allowed to say kill on this channel anymore? I better call YouTube and check, hold on a sec. Final Space is an adult 2D 3D hybrid animated series created by YouTuber and filmmaker Olin Rogers, with David Sachs serving as the showrunner, and produced primarily by Shadow Machine. The show began life as an animated web series on Olin Rogers' YouTube channel, going under the name Gary Space, before it was eventually rebooted and the title changed to Final Space before being uploaded again to YouTube in 2016 as a new pilot. The show was picked up for production and began airing on TBS in February 2018 with a total of 10 episodes over one season. A second season is currently in production and is slated to release sometime in 2019. Hey, how funny is it that I'm reviewing a show created by a YouTuber when my own YouTube channel is circling the proverbial drain? So, it's time for us to get real tame, and we take a super padded look at Final Space. Hoo boy, the vastness of space! So many amazing things can happen in space! Am I right? And this time, in the vastness of space, where literally anything can happen, we follow a white male human being by the name of Gary Goodspeed from the planet Earth. Well, I guess you gotta give the audience somebody to relate to in a sci-fi setting. Anyway, as I was saying, Gary Goodspeed is a young man from Earth who, while out in space aboard the Galaxy 1, serving out his 5-year prison sentence for blowing up 92 spaceships and a Mexican restaurant, happens upon a cute and enigmatic little alien creature whom Gary calls Mooncake. The two form a quick bond, as Gary is desperate for any interaction with another being that isn't a robot or the Galaxy 1's computer system, Hugh. However, it turns out that Mooncake is being hunted by the menacing alien known as the Lord Commander, and he will stop at nothing to find him and use them for his own nefarious desires. Swearing to protect Mooncake, Gary gathers an entourage of companions to help him stop the Lord Commander before he uncovers a way into unlocking something known as Final Space through a breach in the fabric of the universe. Whoa, okay, alright, that's a lot of plot for only 10 episodes. You'd think that, right? Well, you're actually wrong, because there's even more plot that gets crammed into those 10 episodes, like that pancake-eating bunny from that new Wreck-It Ralph movie. I'm not saying the basic plot is bad by any means, it definitely has some good ideas in its noodle, but it perhaps has too many good ideas. And with too many good ideas comes one of two things. Either every single idea gets fully implemented at the cost of proper pacing and a naturally woven tapestry of exposition, or the good ideas are only vaguely touched upon, one at a time, yet never given any chance to be fully explored. This is one of the only times I've ever seen a series actually do both at the same time. It crams every single idea it has into its measly 10-episode span, but only lightly touches upon them due to a lack of time for expansion. And the end result, well, it really isn't pretty, in all honesty. Oh, and speaking of pretty, I've thought of a good way to make the algorithm overlords smile down on my poor channel. I have to make myself way more attractive. I mean, YouTube doesn't value you if you're not model-level gorgeous on camera at all times, right? That's better. Yeah. Relatively speaking. Okay, next step to having my channel rise from the dead like the desiccated corpse that it is to always be happy and super positive on camera, no matter how horribly stressed out, depressed, anxious, or empty you feel on the inside. I can do that! So let's take a look at the characters! Now then, let's see what kind of characters are served up on this series' silver platter. The protagonist is Gary Goodspeed, an eccentric and energetic spacefaring young man with an over-exaggerated level of heroism and confidence. Gary serves out his 5-year prison sentence alone out in space with nothing but robots and AI for company, until he's hit smack in the face with his strange new companion, Mooncake. Okay, listen very carefully to the words I'm about to say, because this is important. I like Gary's character. I find his core personality to be interesting in that he seems to exaggerate everything about himself to compensate for his loneliness and lack of self-confidence. But Jumpin' Jam and Chili Jigs, his voice is annoying! Seriously, I cannot stress how annoying Gary's voice is. It's like, if you've ever seen BoJack Horseman, BoJack also puts on this kind of voice when he's trying to make himself seem more confident and important. But that show is smart enough to not make nearly every single line of BoJack's dialogue sound like that. This show? Not so much.
Hey, Chad, you must be a real cool dude if a movie star just wants to hang out with you for no reason. You look every bit as spicy as the last time I saw you.
Friends, I am locked in the cringe position.
Really, every time Gary opens his mouth, I just want to smack... gently cuddle him into submission, because everything he says just makes me want to crinkle cut fry. It really is a shame, because I am genuinely interested in his character, and when he actually speaks like a normal human would, not his over-exaggerated drawl, I find there's a lot to like about him. But just, I can't stand listening to the mouth words spewing out of his face hole. So I'm gonna move on to the next character before I have a nice warm bath. So next would be Avocado, the fruit of the tree of the same name from south central Mexico, classified as a member of the flowering plant family Lauraceae. Sorry, I mean Avocado, a Ventrexian bounty hunter tasked with retrieving Mooncake for the Lord Commander. Avocado is your typical stern yet sensible tough guy with trust issues, and truthfully, I don't have much to say about him. He's definitely one of the less egregiously annoying characters in this series, but that's getting ahead of my train of thought a bit. I'll give Avocado a pass, if only because I can't think of anything in particular to say about him. It's your lucky day, you mushy baby. Coming up next would be Quinn Ergon, a captain of the Infinity Guard who goes off on her own to investigate a gravitational anomaly that threatens to pull Earth into a breach in space. Quinn is the very definition of an intelligent, independent woman who don't need no man, except, scratch that don't need no man part off the list. So she's an intelligent, independent woman, I guess. That's probably good enough. But you know me, I absolutely love romance, and I adore when it takes over the unfolding narrative to bring two characters that have the chemistry of a soggy piece of bread in a Ziploc bag together. It's my favorite thing in the world! Yes! Yes indeedy! Oh, goody, my stress-induced aneurysms just burst. I mean, goodbye, synapses! It's not like I need those anyway. Yeah, good rinse. Okay, let's keep the fun train running by looking at Hugh, the Galaxy One's computer. I don't know if I'd consider him a character necessarily, but he does inject some colorful language into his computations, so I guess that's something? If I'm being honest, Hugh is probably my favorite character overall, if only for his consistency. If I have one complaint about Hugh though, it's that his voice, provided by the endlessly talented Tom Kenny, needed some kind of robotic filter added to it or digital sound cue to indicate that he's talking. So instead of this...
Disabled transporter is now locked in. Dispatching SAMES to secure Quinn.
It'd be more like this.
Disabled transporter is now locked in. Dispatching SAMES to secure Quinn.
As it is, Hugh's voice doesn't blend well with the world at all. It just feels plopped unceremoniously onto every scene, and half the time, it just seems like Hugh communicates to the other characters telepathically, since he can talk to characters even when they're not wearing their spacesuits or helmets. I can imagine this wouldn't bother many people, but it's certainly something that distracts me. Anyway, let's move on to Kevin, a deep space insanity avoidance companion assigned to Gary for the duration of his prison sentence. Kevin's job, in the show's universe and in reality, is to be as irritating as robotically possible. And I'll give him credit, he's certainly good at his job! Imagine if you took Wheatley from Portal 2, stripped him of his charming British accent, crossbred him with that fast yellow bird from the Angry Birds movie, and uploaded the entire library of YouTube's prank and reaction channels into his humor processing unit. That wouldn't even come close to how absurdly aggravating and unfunny Kevin is. Really, the joke is that everybody hates Kevin. Maybe that'd make a great sitcom, but here he just deflates every single scene he forces himself into, like a set of obnoxious caltrops underneath the show's proverbial tires. Wait, hold on. I'm supposed to be positive! But these characters are kind of making me angry. This isn't Angry Tube, this is YouTube! And as we all know, you can't be you on YouTube anymore. Not if you want to please the algorithmic overlords. So please, I'm sorry. I just have one more character to talk about, okay? Can you at least permit me that? So, yeah, the antagonist is the Lord Commander, a cruel, heartless alien with the power of telekinesis. However, the more he uses his powers, the closer he gets to dying. To prevent his death, the Lord Commander searches desperately for Mooncake and the key to final space. The Lord Commander is actually quite the intimidating villain when he isn't trying to be the funny guy or anything. When he makes a threat against the characters, he doesn't hesitate to put it into action without a single consideration to who he has to kill or maim to get what he wants. Seriously, I wouldn't ever want to be on his bad side. He can literally kill you with a single thought. I always like seeing the antagonists of stories be tangibly intimidating instead of just an ineffectual bumbler or a nebulous, all-powerful being. So props to the commander! Now, I would also talk about Mooncake's character, but his entire character can be summed up with chocolate. So I'm just gonna leave it there. There! See? Did everything right. I didn't do anything to upset you this time, did I? I mean, like, what else do you want from me? Ooh, I know, do you want me to put a red circle around my face and an arrow pointing towards it? I know that's what you like, algorithm. I mean, I'll do whatever you want to keep you happy. Dignity? Pfft, I don't even know what that is anymore. What else can I do to not lose my 25,000 precious subscribers? Oh, I know. What if I switch to obnoxious jump cut editing? All the popular YouTube channels do that. I won't even have to memorize my lines anymore. How's that? Is that better? Do you like this? Is this better? Alright now, on to the good things. Okay, so I can't go 1 second longer without addressing the absolute best thing about this series, and that is its presentation. With a gorgeous color palette, masterful blending of 2D and 3D environments and design, and an overall cinematic and atmospheric vibe. I honestly can't get enough of it. In an age where so many cartoons are so bland in their presentation to save time and money, it's nice to see such a fantastic outlier here. Really, presentation-wise, it's like Wander Over Yonder on steroids. And yes, I am aware they were animated in the same program, but the point still stands. And that sophisticated presentation really helps accentuate the more dramatic moments when they happen, and there are quite a few. I'm happy to report that, when this series attempts to bring the feels, it does so with aplomb, without ever feeling too overbearing. Now, admittedly, there are other parts of it that feel a lot more overwhelmingly overbearing, but we'll get to that in a bit. For now, all I can say on that regard is that I admire the effort in trying to give us something to care about, and that gets my thumb way up. One other thing I want to give my thumbs up to as well is the cold opening framing device at the beginning of each episode. The way it counts down 1 minute at a time per episode creates an instant and satisfying hook that I honestly don't think I've ever seen in any other animated series up till this point. I'm trying my best to avoid spoiling what happens in those cold openings because they really are worth experience for yourself, if only to get the full scope of emotions they give off. Lastly, I want to give the last of my props to something I touched upon in this video I made about the adult animation myth. I appreciate that this series does its best to engage its adult audience through character relationships, dialogue, and drama, as opposed to the typical things found in adult comedies like violence, sex, nudity, drugs, and alcohol, and excessive swearing. That stuff is very easy to exploit, I should know. And it's just nice to see an adult series have some restraint and treat its audience with respect. Not to say it's completely devoid of those things, as it does have a fair few things you can't show to the kiddie witties, but I never feel it cheapens the experience or overstays its welcome. It's all very well thought out, and I give it my official stamp of approval. I remember the good old days when I could gain respect from my audience without having to pander and scramble for views. I mean, it's great! Everything's great! Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, buy my merchandise, follow me on Twitter, donate to my Patreon, buy my new book, watch my other videos! Alright, so it seems I'm having a little bit of trouble sticking to the algorithm's great plan, so I brought in a YouTube representative to watch my every move and scan my every word so that I can figure out exactly what I'm doing wrong while I take a look at the bad things. I just wanted to know, can I actually do it? Okay. It's too bad I have to bring up what this series does that's so flagrantly disappointing that it honestly makes me get a yummy milkshake. And that's that this series blows its story loads way too fast. Like I said, it has interesting ideas and concepts, but the issue is that it tries to cram about 3 seasons worth of material into just a paltry 10-episode span. So it goes without saying that not only is there a significant feeling of event overload and plot diarrhea, but everything also feels underdeveloped and rushed beyond belief. So instead of the narrative elements unfolding naturally like this, it's more like this. This series definitely could have benefited from some additional cool-down episodes, where it doesn't really further the story, but it helps establish solid character connections and dynamics. I'm not saying it would have benefited from filler episodes, but every story-based show I've ever seen has cool-down episodes. They're especially important in sci-fi shows, where every single thing in the fictional universe has to be established, to have some time to just cool off and get to know the characters and the universe they live in. As it is, it feels almost like I'm watching the Cliff Notes version of an epic universe-threatening conflict, as opposed to just watching an epic universe-threatening conflict. And that's mighty disappointing. The next thing is pretty subjective, so take my statement for what you will, but by far the weakest thing in this series is its comedy. If Gary's aggravating hero voice and weird dialogue and Kevin's insufferable presence wasn't enough, the whole series insists on trying to be funny all over the place, oftentimes when it isn't appropriate. Especially in regards to when they try to make the Lord Commander the funny guy, despite his menacing nature. I'm not saying that the series is entirely devoid of funny moments, but the vast majority of the humor ranges from to
Dude.
If it makes you laugh, that's totally fine, but to me, it's akin to having comedic cheese graters scraping across my ears anytime someone cracks a joke. Wait, I'm sorry. Okay, I know that was a little violent, but I was just referring to this cheese grater. Look, I made grated cheese with it, okay? It's not violent at all. Alright, well, let's just take a look at my least favorite and favorite episode. You want to make tacos with this? inappropriate! Of course, in such a linear show without any cooldown episodes, there's obviously going to be spoilers ahead. So if you're using this review to gauge whether or not you want to actually watch the show, skip to the time listed here. Okay? You got it? There's your warning. What is that? What are you writing down? Threatening the audience. How was that a threat? You didn't listen to the context of what I was saying, you fantastic person. I'm sorry. Thank you for showing me that I was being inappropriate. I forgot to mention my least favorite episode is Chapter 5. In this episode, Gary, Quinn, and Avocado go to a planet to investigate a giant laser that is widening the breach in the universe. But Quinn's trust is shaken when she makes a startling revelation about the Infinity Guard. I'm not very fond of this episode because it's the most funny one, and it's filled with the most pseudo-romantic guff out of all of them. It's not awful, but it just doesn't do much for me. This is your last chance to turn back if you don't want spoilers. Don't blame me if you get something spoiled that you didn't want spoiled and it gets spoiled here. Hashtag don't blame Sol. Hashtag Sol was good girl. Hashtag Final Space Season 2. Hashtag YouTube likes hashtags, right? Okay, good. Awesome. My favorite episode is Chapter 10. In the season finale, Gary and his entourage of companions finally go to confront the Lord Commander at the breach, which has nearly sucked the Earth straight into its gaping maw. But the battle quickly turns into an inescapable bloodbath. I enjoy this episode a ton, because it leaves all its funnies at the door and focuses entirely on its story, characters, and drama. It really does all come together extremely well in the end, but I can't help but feel I'd care even more if more time was given to develop the characters. Still, I'll take what I can get here and say that this is one fantastic way to go out. Final Space is a show that I had such high hopes for. It's got the scaffolding of a great monolith of awesomeness, but the structure is wonky and unbalanced. It's not enough to make the entire thing collapse, but I wouldn't exactly rent a room there, if you know what I mean. Still, I'm excited to see what this team can cook up in the future. And at the very least, I hope that the team that made this can make their concept fly far into the future, beyond the infinite reaches of the universe. I give Final Space . 3 eyes out of 5. So, Final Space. Is it watchable? Undoubtedly! If the footage I showed you throughout this review isn't enough to make your eyeballs dance with ecstasy, then I can confirm you do not exist! Is it enjoyable? Well, that depends on how much the humor grates on you. If it's enough to make tacos with, then you could probably give this one a skip. Otherwise, enjoy away. Is it memorable? I'd say that it is, despite how many things are crammed all into one season. So you may not remember everything that happens, but I highly doubt you'll forget the thing as a whole. So, how'd I do? Are you gonna keep my channel dead and buried? Wait a minute, I mean, what did I do wrong? Please, please! This channel means everything to me. I can't afford to lose it to something I don't even know how to fix. Please, YouTube. Please help me. Would you like to stay up to date on the latest EyeofSol news, as well as contribute directly to my channel, you can find my Twitter page, my Facebook page, and my link to my Patreon page there on the screen for you, as well as in the description. I update the Twitter and Facebook pages every day, so if you want to check out news on the show as well as updates, just follow the links here.